Hickson. I'm a city council member. We have a few distinguished guests in the audience. I'd like to take a minute to recognize my fellow council member Josh Baer is here. Also, Mayor Webb is here, longtime mayor of the city of Norcross is here. There she is. And also, I'm going to speak on it here in a minute, but Rudolph Smith is here as well, our wonderful city manager. The reason I'm up here is I was asked a few months ago, I did a walk with council as an opportunity to try to interact and get out and talk to some people. And at that time, I encountered quite a few questions, the general questions about how the process works, how the development process works. And Pat called me up on Sunday night and asked me if I would be willing, because I'm not up for election, and we hope to keep this as apolitical as possible, for me to come up here and moderate and try to keep, just to get some facts out there about what the DDA does, what the city council does, and try to give you just a basic understanding of how your city operates. I hope, if anyone can't hear me, please let me know in the back. So we'll go ahead and dig into it. I'm Andrew. I was elected in 2008, took office in 2009 at the ripe old age of 28. I've been on, the citizens have re-elected me a few times since there. We serve 2-year terms, so we have an election. We can have an election every single year. We don't always have an election, but we can have an election every single year. The mayor is also a 2-year term, and we are on staggered, so the mayor is up every other year, and then the 3 council members. So this year, obviously, we have an election. What does your city council do? At the end of this, we are the voice of the citizens. You may not always like what we say, but we are the voice of the citizens. I try to always express to people that I am the representative to the government for you. I'm not the government's representative to you. I may be splitting hairs, but I think it's important that we do have a government established. We have employees that we're going to go through and talk about. But at the end of the day, we're policymakers. We establish policy, and we get to hire one person and one person only. And that's Mr. Rudolph Smith. He's the only person of the roughly 110 employees that we have that the city council actually gets to hire. Everyone else under that is hired by Mr. Smith and through his department heads. So I think that's important. Besides establishing policy, we do that by obviously enacting policy, but we also have a budget. We have right around $11 million budget, of which about $4 million comes from property taxes. We've done a good job over the years, starting way back in the, way before I was on council, of diversifying our public, our revenue stream. So we have a very good mix. Less than 40% of our revenue is from property taxes. A lot of our revenue comes from different sources. And that's just from the guidance over the years of trying to get away from property taxes. The citizen impact of the city council is we're answering to the cities. If you don't like what I say, if you don't like how I say it, if you don't like my policies, we're ultimately answerable to you. We're going to talk a lot today about this development process, and I hope it's eye-opening. But at the end of the day, you have to contact your elected representatives. We have to make an effort to get out and talk to you. And at the end of the day, we know we are having an election right now. It's an opportunity for the citizens to hold us accountable. And we have that opportunity every year in the city of Norcross. So it was almost maybe a decade ago, we switched to a city manager form of government. He runs the day-to-day operations. He enacts our policy through his department heads. He does not enter into contracts. Our mayor, we're in a city manager form of government with a weak mayor. Our mayor, as is the contracting officer for our contracts, our mayor, however, does not get a vote on public policy issues. The city council only has a vote on the public policy issues. If in the odd chance that either a council member is missing or the mayor would have to cast a deciding vote if there's some sort of tie. So our staff under that, we're going to cover a little bit about the staff, but obviously we have a police chief, a department head, public works. We're hiring for a public works department head. We have a planning and development head, John Davis. He's not here, but we're going to talk a little bit about just the planning and development side. Hopefully at later dates, we're going to have opportunity for more kind of information-based meetings where we actually tell you everything that's a little bit more about what does our police department do, what does public works do, what does our parks and green space do. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide. All right, so what guides us? At the end of the day, as a politician, I hate to say that, but as an elected official, my political objectives guide me. My citizens and what they want for me to accomplish guides us. But we also have our comprehensive plan that kind of guides our long-term thinking. It's a state mandate. We have to, by state law, have a comprehensive plan. We did one back in 2011 after we annexed in around 6,000 people east of Norcross. We did an update to our comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan is extensive. Hopefully everyone has an opportunity in our next comprehensive plan to go out and be involved in the comp plan. You'll hear us call it the comp plan. We have a lot of plans we're going to cover, but we do online surveys, we do open houses, we go out and we talk to people in the park. We have one-on-one interviews with random people in the city. So we try to engage as many people to meet the state mandated long-term plan here in the city of Norcross. What are some examples of successful long-term plans? In our LCI study, many years ago, city center was, a new city center was kind of developed, and this was our comp plan, and out of that grew Lillian Webb Park. So the implementation, we take these plans within the last few years, it takes a long time. We started talking about a new city center in Norcross back in 2001. All right, so that's our comprehensive plan. Some other plans you may have heard out in the public, we talk about, you hear a lot about our LCI plans. You'll hear it's a livable city centers initiative. We have an LCI plan that was done, it was exhaustive. In my opinion, people went out, we had a team of people, a core group of people that went out and conducted meetings very similar to this where we presented information and sought feedback. The impact of the citizens for that is just hopefully a more dynamic, livable center. There's some other plans such as the Stephen Fuller plan. I believe that's there on the bottom is the Stephen Fuller plan. Just some examples of other plans. We also have the LIC, the Urban Land Institute plan. And that was just to bring in different people from across the board that had some best practices. These are just some of the other plans that we have. And John Davis was going to be here, and he is a much more exhaustive understanding than I do about the plans. One of the things you hear a lot is the tax allocation district. Our tax allocation district, also known as the Norcross Town Center Concept Plan, was what we just recently passed as a council. Our rezoning board was concurrent with the boundaries. A tax allocation district, in short, is an area where you take future property revenues to issue bonds today in the hope that the infrastructure improvements that you undertake will increase in value and thus pay off those bonds. It's a very powerful tool. It's known as a tax allocation district only in Georgia. It's known as tax increment financing throughout the rest of the country, and there's been quite a lot of this type of financing in not only the state of Georgia, but also throughout the country. To varying degrees of success, to be honest with you. Other funding sources that we have, besides just tax allocation district, to implement some of our plans, we have SPLOST. There's an e-SPLOST coming up on Tuesday. You can vote, go out and vote for. But there's also a regular SPLOST coming up the next year. The special purpose local option sales tax is truly that. It's a local option. We go to the voters as a city, and we develop ideas, and we say these are what we want to implement. Some examples of that, Lillian Webb Park was paid for by SPLOST funds. We're going to pay for Pinnacle Park with SPLOST funds. We paid for the Thrasher remodel with SPLOST funds. So, and I think that's a good opportunity when it comes to SPLOST to really go out and show this is what we want to build, and if we don't build it, then you can. That's opportunity when the citizens don't lose trust in you as if you don't build what you tell them you're going to build. Other funding options are we are part of MEAG in the Electric Cities of Georgia. We have our own power company. I know on Nextdoor there's a lot of discussion about that recently. But through the power company we operate here in the city of Norcross. If your power went out, like mine did, now that I live in downtown Norcross, my power went out. Was it yesterday or the day before? The power was back on maybe 15 minutes later. So there are some opportunities, but we operate that power company for the sole purpose, ultimately providing good customer service, but also because the profits help us offset, ideally would help us offset some of our tax revenue in terms of property taxes. So what's our next slide? Okay, this is the pedestrian connectivity we've been talking a lot about. This is just up and down streets, we want more and more sidewalks. Some of them are going to be just some basic sidewalks, 4-foot sidewalks that you will see. Some of them are going to be very elaborate sidewalks that you see down Thrasher Street that also incorporate a rain garden. So we've been very proactive about having pedestrian safety, not only in the downtown core, but also working with the county and other areas, and specifically with the CID to have connectivity throughout our city so that people aren't walking on shoulders and they're walking on actual sidewalks. And next is the Beaver Ruin Creek Greenway Master. I don't mean to just spout facts off to you, but this really is a factual-based opportunity for us to take. So the next is that we have recently undertaken is the Beaver Ruin Creek Master Greenway. The ideal is, the concept behind this is that we'll have a green walking path throughout there that will ultimately connect the city of Norcross. We're already connecting the city of Norcross to the city of Lilburn through a multi-use path on the road. So it's a shoulder sidewalk all the way to the Lilburn. The CID is funding that as well as the city. But this will be more of a greenway like you see in Suwanee or in Alpharetta. It'll be in some of the right-of-ways and some of the green areas. We hope that this is just something we've just started talking about. We had a community meeting for it, I believe, about a month ago. So hopefully it'll be something that the DDA will have very little to do with it, but it's a development that we're working on. So the real reason we're here, I want to talk to people. We'll go ahead and show people a little bit about the website. This is kind of the most basic thing. If you haven't been to the website, check it out. It is a government website, so it's not Google, it's not Yahoo. It's a government website, and we try to provide the most services we can. If you want our newsletter, sign up for Notify Me, the citizen request. If your trash wasn't picked up. If your trash wasn't picked up, go ahead and click on that. If your trash wasn't picked up and you'd rather call me, you can do that too. But you can also click on it right there and do that. You can also pay your bill online. And you can navigate, you can see our agendas. I encourage everyone to go see our agendas online. You can see the agendas and the minutes online. And hopefully, I believe this video will be posted on there. The real reason I wanted to have this, though, or I was asked to kind of have this meeting, was that we wanted to talk about a lot of the different boards that we have. We have 54 citizen appointments in the city of Norcross that oversee half a dozen boards. And we have some of our chairman people that are here to discuss what they do, how they interact with council. Ultimately, the voice of the citizens lies with city council. I believe that. I vote that way. But we have multiple advising bodies. We have some bodies that work with us after we make our decisions, such as the ARB. And actually, we try to get the ARB involved before decisions are made. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. The first person I'd like to introduce is Diane Ernest. She is our P&Z chairperson. A little bit about, she's going to explain, I hope, as much as you want, you can kick it back to me if you want, Diane, but she's our P&Z chairperson. She's going to explain about what the P&Z process is and how development started.
Good evening. The Planning and Zoning Board is an advisory board to the Mayor and Council. We make recommendations to the City Council regarding zoning applications, special use permits, and changes to zoning ordinances. There are 5 members on our board: Kenneth Anderson, Gary Brace, Hoyt Hutchinson, Ruthie Paul, and me. We will have an opening on the board at the end of the year, so I would urge anyone that has considered joining one of our boards to please go by the City Hall, pick up an application, and fill it out for the zoning board opening. This is a volunteer position, and there are no specific requirements to serve on the board. Planning and Zoning meets on the first Wednesday after the first Monday of the month. And I know that conflicts with the slide, but we do that in order to be more accommodating to the City Council meetings. We also meet at 6:30 in the conference room on the second floor of City Hall to kind of go over the agenda before we actually open our meeting. That also is an open meeting, and anyone is welcome to attend. However, you are not allowed to speak at this meeting. You will have to wait until we get to the Planning and Zoning meeting before you're allowed to speak. All of our meetings are open meetings, and we encourage the public to attend, even if there isn't an agenda item that's of particular interest to you. Public input is the most valuable tool that our board has. Typically, we receive our zoning packet from John Davis about 2 weeks prior to our meeting. The packet includes the agenda and the applications that are being discussed for that meeting. Each request includes an analysis of the existing zoning and the staff recommendation. There may also be special recommendations included on the zoning request, and the applicant is made aware of those special recommendations prior to the meeting. A couple of examples of the zoning that we've done recently. We had a zoning last November on Holcomb Bridge Road. There were 2 small houses on Holcomb Bridge Road that had not been maintained and had become a blighted property. The owner wanted to rezone the property to an R65 zoning in order to place 3 houses on that particular property. So now we have 3 beautiful new homes being built on Holcomb Bridge Road where there were 2 blighted homes previously. Another rezoning request was for 260 Window Street. The request was for a change from R75 to R65 to create an additional lot on the corner for the development of 2 new homes. The request was compatible with the current development pattern and the predominant zoning on the block, so we recommended approval and the City Council agreed. After the Planning and Zoning Board meets, the applications are forwarded to the City Council and the Mayor, where they have the final decision on any zoning requests that we review. Thank you.
Thanks, Diane. And I didn't say this, but all of our boards are appointed by City Council. They get 4-year terms. Like I said earlier, we get 2-year terms. So it's important that we appoint good people, quality people. And we have 54 positions, of which 15 are available. So we have 15 open spots. 8 open spots. I apologize. 50% is open. So 8 open spots. So I would encourage everyone to go apply to be on board. These are volunteer boards, and it really is an impact on the city. We'll take some questions in a minute. Okay. One thing that Diane didn't say, well, she hinted at it. There have been times when the P&Z board has voted 5-0 to approve something. Our city council has voted 5-0 to turn it down. Ultimately, we are, and that's just kind of the tension built into the system. It's that they are a recommending body and we are a approving body. And I know sometimes there's some frustrations between P&Z and council, but ultimately, as the voice of the citizens, we have to vote on those items. And sometimes we do what the citizens, what we feel is in the best interest of the citizens. So there is some built-in tension there. After a rezoning is approved by the P&Z, it comes back to City Council. If P&Z puts some requirements on it for rezoning, City Council can also remove those requirements or add additional requirements that will protect the citizens even more and make the development more tenable, at least to us. So after we approve it, the next step, especially in a redevelopment or even a new development, is the ARB. And Jeff Hopper is our ARB chairperson, and he's going to tell us a little bit about the ARB, Architectural Review Board, and what they do.
I'm Jeff Hopper. I'm the chairman of the Architectural Review Board, and all I can we currently have a vacancy available, but it's been a learning experience for me, and it's been a very positive experience. And basically, by the time something comes our way, it's been approved. It's done. We don't concern ourselves with density. We don't concern ourselves with setbacks or anything like that. We're really only concerned about the architectural style of what's being brought forward.
Speak into the microphone a little clearer, please.
This good here? Okay. So we.
That's much better.
Oh, it is better. Okay. So we concern ourselves mostly with just the architectural aesthetics, the colors. It's kind of the mundane stuff, the windows, the window treatments, the siding width. There's a variety of little details, but and so for me, Rick Maxim, he is our architect. I rely heavily on his input. He's really good. He owns his own company. Cindy Flynn, excellent resource. Cindy, I draw on your experience all the time, and I'm glad you're sticking around. Dixie Fowler's vacancy, I hated to see her go. She is really good too, and for those of you that are saying, well, gee, I'd like to do something and participate, but the Architectural Review Board, I don't know, I'm not that architecturally oriented. The staff does an excellent job of preparing our documentation for the meetings. They lay out to, not only the application and what's going on, but they give you the recommendations and they say, look, here's some potential problem areas that we see, that you need to address. And so they, and John Davis, he's our community development guy. Diane, I can't say enough things positive about him. He's on it and he tells it like it is and doesn't shy away from, telling you like it is. So he, and so like I say, it's within our purview, if you will, we're very concerned about all new construction, but especially within the historic district. There's a designated historic district, and we give those projects a little bit extra scrutiny. Whereas somebody who's building something maybe further away, maybe on the other side of Beaufort Highway, I'm not saying they don't get scrutinized, but we're really concerned about what goes on in the historic district. And then as an added bonus, we get to deal with, new commercial development. I don't know if you know this or not, but they're going to be building a speedway over there at the intersection of Peachtree Industrial and Rebs Miller. And of course, it's a speedway. I mean, I think we do a pretty good job in terms of, it's the little things, we'll make them put, a brick base on those canopy columns and all. And these are small things, but I think they go a long way to helping enhance the look of even something as mundane as a convenience store gas station. Probably some of the things that that the impact that we've had, I think that if you look over here at Parkside, Parkside didn't look like that when it first came before us, Skip now's my neighbor and friend, and I don't think he would mind me saying that when he first brought it to us, I was unhappy with it, and we told him we were unhappy with it, and he went back to the drawing board and came back pretty much with what you see today. I mean, Cindy, you'll agree, when he first brought it before us, it was a no-go. But even Skip today, I think, would tell you that the product that's there now is the better product, and I think he's glad he's done it. And we get a lot of that. Most people that come before us, and again, you're trying to balance the right of property owners, because property owner rights, I mean, that's a big deal to me, but we want to balance that off with the rights of the interest of the community, if we will, especially a historic community. Anything like ours, anything within the historic district, I mean, it's not, we've told developers, look, if this was being built in the middle of Hall County, a subdivision, multi-hundred unit subdivision in Hall County, it'd be great, but you're building it in Norcross. And Cindy and I were talking just recently, and most developers, I think, would tell you that when you come to Norcross and you got to go before the ARB, I mean, we're not terrible, we're very hopeful in tone, but we do make sure that the standards are upheld. And I'm proud of that. And so I really think Parkside turned out really well. And again, little things. When they redid Thrasher Park, the pavilion / restaurant building. Well, we made them put, the stone base that goes around the building, we made them do that. It cost a little bit extra money, but it looks great. That's supposed to. Yes, lots of we're very concerned about landscaping. We want stuff to look good. We do other things like signs and all, which is probably not as much a concern, but we're all committed, I think, Cindy, to making sure that what goes in. That's exactly right. And and it's kind of interesting because stuff comes before you where you're saying, don't know if I can do this, but that's not the charge. What I like doesn't mean anything. I mean, so most people that are going to invest the money that they're going to invest to build something in Norcross are not going to build garbage. And and you're not allowed anymore to build, especially commercial buildings. Block buildings, metal-sided buildings. Those are all no-nos now. And so we make sure we put the conditions on them. And I think more importantly, you make sure that the conditions are spelled out in such a way that when code enforcement or somebody goes to inspect this property, that they can say, here it is, this is what did they do these things? Just to be clear, renovations we're very concerned with in the historic district, but we don't have purview on renovations outside the historic district. So, you know, occasionally you'll drive through and see a renovation going on, say, back in North Cross Hills. Well, that's not in the historic district. So that, and people will say, well, didn't that come before you? And say, well, no, you know, it's just not, right now, that's just not what we're charged with monitoring. But overall, I would say I was skeptical at first. You know, I'm a property rights guy, but this whole journey for me has converted me to somebody who thinks that this is a good thing. I'm glad to be a part of it, and thanks.
Thanks, Jeff. And they're a 5-member board, they serve 3-year terms, and as Jeff mentioned, there's some vacancies for that particular board, and we encourage everyone to apply for that board as well. The last board, our host actually tonight, well, we have other boards, we have a tree board, we have some other boards as well, but our last authority, which is a legal separate entity by state law, is our development authority. It's currently still called the North Cross Development Authority. It used to be called the DDA, the Downtown Development Authority. We recently extended the boundaries of the DDA to include the entirety of the city. Pat Knight is the chairman, and he's going to tell us a little bit about the DDA and also some the development process that he goes through.
Thank you. Is that working? Thank you very much. As Andrew started off, we're governed by law. Over 35 years ago, the state of Georgia determined that there was some difficulty that the cities were having in purchasing property. And this is one of the main reasons they created the DDA. Because everything in the government has to be open, and there can be no negotiations or anything like that, it caused prices to go up. It made it very hard to put deals together with the cities. So they developed the DDA that would work with the city to give them the opportunity to work with those types of deals. And that's not the only thing, but this was one of the main reasons this was created. So I've been on board a couple of years, and we now have 7 members. 7 members that I feel are excellent folks that represent the citizens. We have legal backgrounds. We have technology backgrounds. We have a guy that does nothing but contracts with major governments. I came from a sales management background. We have marketing as well, and customer services people represented. So a good feel across the board. A lot of those folks have learned, as I've learned as we've gone through the process. We've been to a lot of schools, and hopefully what we're bringing to the table is something that the community can be proud of. In the case of negotiations, I'd like to speak to that a minute. As you know, we're currently working with negotiations on the Lee Webb Field project. As the negotiations are, we have no contract with them, we're just in negotiations. Therefore, there's nothing that can be publicized, and there's nothing to publicize. That is one thing that we will continue to work with. And this is a little different than the norm. I wouldn't say the norm, but it's a little different in the DDA spectrum. And here's how it's different. A lot of times in other DDAs, they may find a project and bring it to the city and say, here's this excellent project we want to push forward. And that's one way to do it. In this particular case, we're dealing with city-owned property, which has been turned over to the DDA to do the negotiation with the developer. So there's a little bit of difference there, and I wanted that to be understood. We meet at 6 o'clock on the first Thursday of each month at City Hall. A little bit about those meetings, and like a lot of meetings, we don't have a lot of attendance, but understand we do a little different. If it's a few people in the audience and it wouldn't get out of whack or anything as far as the flow of the meeting, we have everyone get involved. If we have questions from the audience in the middle of our discussion, we can take them. Now, if I have to cut it off, I'd have to cut it off if it got out of hand, but we've never had that happen. So I want you to know it is a truly open meeting. You're not structured like you may be in some other venues. I welcome you all to attend. A couple of things that we have done that you may not be aware of is like the cotton gin. The cotton gin was purchased by the city and then leased to us to release to property owners, and to also take the cotton gin and upgrade it. We have taken that and done so. The cotton gin now doesn't have leaks anymore. I think we got rid of the water that was in the basement. We put in fire escapes where we had to. We were able to clean around the areas where there was a creek, and it's been cleaned on one side, and we hope to do the other. And we're 100% occupied. We're able to maintain rents that are at or higher than the norm in the area. So we're not trying to steal any type of rents from any private citizens. We're the only live, work, play community that is actually city-owned in Gwinnett County, and I don't know about the rest of Atlanta. And we're very proud of that as well. It's taken a while to get to that point, and it is now working quite well. The Lillian Webb Park project, things to think about on that as a comparison as we've been working on it. We're really dealing with an area that's only 2.8 acres. It's not a huge piece of acreage. You've got to understand that we're now in an urban environment. A lot of people don't think Norcross is being in an urban environment, but we are from the standpoint of property. If you look at Peachtree Corners, for example, they just announced they're going to build something on 22 open acres. I would love to have 22 open acres where we could build something in the ground, but you just can't do it. So we're limited in what we can do and the type of property we have, the surrounding property we have, in order to put together a product that the entire community can be proud of. A couple other things that we do that you may not be aware of. We also handle a couple of events, the tour of homes. We've been involved in July 3rd in assisting the city there, and other events that we have done in the past to help out the city when there was a need. We also have met, and I can truthfully say we've met with every building owner in historic Norcross at some point, and at least discussed with them the simple fact of, hey, we're the DDA. If you have any plans for improving your building, maybe we can help. We have a facade grant program that we were able to use, and many did. If you want to sell your business, or you have plans for retirement or whatever, and it's a long-term deal, maybe we can help you, get you a good buyer. Or if you have tenants that are leaving, like right now we've got Dress Up is leaving. We've reached out to the owners there saying, is there anything we can do to put you in the right direction to help you fill your building? So we do other things than just develop. We try to help in the redevelopment and growth as well. Basically, we respond to any economic opportunity, and we cover, as Andrew said, 90% of the city now. Our focus is downtown, historic, but it is now spread out to the entire community. Lastly, one of the questions that has been brought up was about conflicts of interest. Conflicts of interest can always come up always be brought up when you're dealing in something like this. And the process that we follow is the legal process followed throughout the state. We recuse ourselves of anything that would look like or even be any type of possible conflict of interest. We've had 2 occasions when we had to do that. You can read our minutes. We try to stick to that. Our folks are citizens just like you, and we want to make sure that this is the best thing that can come to the city. And we welcome your comments and your questions. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Pat. Sorry. All right, thanks, Pat. Well, let's open it up to questions. If you have questions about the specific process that we've talked about tonight, those are really the type of questions we want. We don't want this to kind of devolve into, why did you rezone that? I'd be happy to come talk to you or talk to you offline about that. Really, this is about the educational process or the development process of these boards in particular. So if anyone has any questions, I see Kate has a question, so go ahead, Kate. We'll try to keep it informal.
A
Gary Brace is leaving at the end of the year. He's joining another board in the city.
Okay, and then my other question is just so that I understand what you said, ma'am, and what you said. You said the mayor doesn't vote on public policy decisions unless there's a council member missing and there's a tie. So am I correct to assume that all of the work that all of these boards do, they go to the city council to vote on, but not the mayor?
Yes, that is true. I don't believe our current mayor, Bucky Johnson, has voted on a single item since I've been on council.
Okay, just want to make sure I'm clear. Thank you.
Any other questions about the process we take here? Anything else about any of our boards? We'd love to answer some of those questions. Council, maybe?
Just real quick, but I think, I don't know, Pat, if you addressed this, but these are not paid positions, is that correct?
When I get 100% raise, I still won't have anything.
There you go.
I believe though, the city does pay a stipend.
The city pays $25 a meeting to some boards. I do not believe the DDA is. And then of course, I am compensated.
I think we get paid, but I think most of our members just donate it back to the city.
Planning and zoning, we're paid $50 for each meeting, and we keep it all.
And spend it all in that time. Hey, Peter, yeah.
Is there any process within the city council arrangement, the government, for taking issues that are particularly big and meaningful to the citizens for referendum, plebiscite, whatever you want to call it, where issues that are sort of critical to determining the future of the city can be put to the citizens, not just to the council?
There is a mechanism to do that, yes. It's a referendum.
Do we ever take any of these decisions on land use issues to the citizens?
Not to a land use. I do recall our last referendum that we had was, Rudolph, you want to speak? I'll answer it and then you can speak to that. Come on up, Rudolph. Our last was on our terminal office, which directly, the council, but the council thought it might be interesting, it would benefit the citizens for us to have 4-year terms, and it would be effective after we ran for office again. However, we took that to the citizens. Do you want to talk about the legal way that works?
My tenure with the city, Andrew just answered one about 4-year terms. That went out to the citizens for a referendum because they feel like they could have taken it and took the legislation and voted it in, but they feel like it's something that the citizen wanted to do, and the citizen has some voice in that because someone said, we do 2 years, we're stuck with somebody for 2 years and we might not get anything done. We do 4 years and we're stuck with somebody who might not be productive. The other issue that went out to the citizens, I think this went out twice since I've been here, and that was alcohol. And all those are real crucial, heartfelt issues to the community, and the city council voted on through a referendum for the alcohol. I think it was the first time it was denied, and the second time it did go through. It was only to sell alcohol, spirits in businesses that sold food.
Thanks.
I guess related to that, is there a way that citizens can get things on the ballot directly themselves? Is there an initiative?
I would have to check our city charter specifically about that, on the process that works. I'd be happy to do that for you. As far as placing items on our agenda, I believe, I know that you often hear that anyone can bring anything up to the agenda. If you have an item that you think needs to be put on the agenda and none of your council members are willing to put that on the agenda, I think we have a really big problem. So I'm always willing to put anything on the agenda that citizens want to discuss. So if you have an idea that you think it's important to go on the agenda, I'd be willing to put that up before we can actually discuss it in public. I thought I saw a question back there. Yes, Ms. Call.
We can't hear her. You don't have to repeat her question.
We have
projects that we've done in the area, especially the example about the apartments. And at the council meeting, the citizens were very concerned about changing our city and the additions that were going to be made to it. I think that this is very important that the citizens of our area here have the right to vote on things like that. And there should be referendums brought forward to let the citizens know what kind of changes are being brought about, not just by the DDA. Okay, so how many people are on that board? What are their qualifications? What are their schoolings? Who picks them? Do they fill an application for that? And these are decisions that shouldn't just be made by a board. These are decisions that should be made by the citizens who live in said city and pay taxes.
So, a direct democracy versus a Republican form of government. We could take everything to the voters always. We occasionally have some very mundane stuff. In fact, our meeting on Monday, we have some pretty pedestrian stuff. How do we determine, and I agree, the development in Lillywell Park is probably one of the biggest developments we have. We just talked about how we have elections every single year. I feel that in our form of government, we elect people to make these decisions for us. If we took everything to a referendum, I don't know. I think it's important that we have referendums when there's a big item. I agree. I don't know how we line that up. What is that item? When do we go from, okay, we are getting rid of police cars to, does that need to go out there? Michelle, I'd be happy to talk to you offline about that, about some ideas about when you think it's important. I thought we talked about some of the qualifications of the DDA a little bit earlier, and I'd be happy to talk to you about how that process works as well. Any other questions?
Well, who makes the determination on DDA what property is brought? And also, do they have the right to make those decisions? I mean,
the DDA has its own budget.
That to me is a very important decision, especially when you're thinking about changing the whole topography of a city, especially when it was brought up with the 450 apartments.
I want to make sure I'm answering your questions as you come. Number one, we would bring, if we found something that we thought would be beneficial to the city, we would bring it to the city. We would still have to sell it to the city. We could put all the workings together and bring it to the city. If I understood what you were saying on the first question. The second part was indicating, again, and I'm trying to answer this, several of your things you said. There was a meeting about apartments, that's true. There was also, I think we went through the slides, quite a few meetings on what is going to be done and the direction that we were giving as far as how to work with the developer. That's all we were doing. We were following those directions and guidelines and visions that the citizens had brought up over the years. After that was done, it was brought up about multifamily being part of it, which it always has been. The folks that didn't want apartments came to the meeting. So you have to take into consideration all of those factors when you're making those kind of decisions as far as which way you can go. But you understand, when y'all came with your concerns about the apartment, the 30 or 40 people that came up and spoke, that had to be weighed with everything else, in my opinion.
I think, Michelle, you asked a good question, and I don't want this to turn into another let's talk about apartments. I don't think that's beneficial to our city right now. I do think, a question you asked, how does the DDA operate? Well, the DDA gets its funding solely from the citizens currently. They do have some income streams from some of the properties that the citizens have bought that they are leasing out and managing for us, but the bulk of their revenue currently comes from the citizens through city council action. And as we pointed out earlier, they are appointed by city council to operate. So how do they go about buying property? Well, if they have enough money to buy a property, they can buy a property. Typically what happens in our city is if they find a project that they feel is beneficial to the citizens of Norcross, they will take it to us, the city council, the voice of the citizens, and we will be the ultimate deciding factor if it's interest. That's how it currently works. If they had a fund balance of $1 million and they saw a parcel that they thought was beneficial, they could maybe purchase that on their own. Yes, Ms. Proctor.
Mr. Hickson. I'd like to get clarification. It's my understanding that even though we are required to have the 2034 comprehensive plan, it is my understanding that the council is not necessarily required to follow every aspect of it to the T. I.e., there's room for tweaking, there's room for changes depending upon what's relevant to the citizens or to council at the time. It's also my understanding that the LCI studies that we do, and I've participated in, are also, even though they're incorporated into the comprehensive plan, the council is not required by law to follow the recommendations of the LCI. Is that correct?
At the end of the day, I have to vote on things only in my own conscience. The only Bible I have is the one that I read at home, my Holy Bible. The LCI study is that it's a plan. It is written by planners with public input. We do follow that. Do we follow it to a T? Not always. We had some robust discussion at our previous council meeting about, well, the LCI study says this. I hesitate to ever say that this is something that we are going to use as gospel. Same with our comp plan. Your question, can we deviate from that? Yes, we can always deviate from that. We have to sleep at night with our own conscience on our own vote. If we feel it's not the best thing for the citizens, then we shouldn't vote for it. And occasionally for all of us, I know all of my fellow councilmen, we always vote our conscience. So.
I have one more question. I need further clarification. Even though I room with Mr. Crofton, his expertise often evades me. How do we get a referendum on the ballot?
Not entirely sure. I will find out for you.
Thank you.
I'm sure City Council has to propose it.
Do we come to you and say we would like a proposal?
I will find out for you.
Thank you.
You know where I live.
I do. And it's a joy.
Now you know where I live.
And I have to say, it is a true joy. So
I'm blessed to be in downtown as well.
So far. Just kidding. I love my neighbors.
Thank you. Let me get Eric first, and then I'll come back.
Okay, on a more mundane side, I'm just curious from the P&Z and the ARB side, which projects need to go through review, and how is that determination made? Is there a geographical section within Historic Norcross that is where that's required, or is it on certain buildings? If I wanted to build an extra wing on my house in the Sunset Hills neighborhood, would I have to come before you to?
You're Norcross Hills, honey.
Sorry, Norcross Hills. Thank you. That was messed up.
So an additional wing, that would not require a zoning change, so let's go ARB.
Well, we pretty much have purview over all new construction within the city limits. There is a historic district, and if you were to ask me to define it right now, I wouldn't be able to, but suffice to say it's within this vicinity here. There's extra scrutiny that comes along with that. We're also, our purview is with new commercial construction within the city.
I can add something to this.
Please do.
I don't have a microphone, but maybe you can hear me well enough. If you live in Sunset Hills or wherever you're outside the historic district, if you're a homeowner and you want to do remodeling your house and something to it, then you're going to have to get a building permit. You know, it's going to affect the structure of your house, or you're doing plumbing or electrical. Oh, that's loud. Those type of things. You're going to have to get a building permit. But how it looks from the outside of the house, the ARB really has no jurisdiction over that whatsoever unless you are in the historic district or it's brand new construction, not remodeling your house, but brand new construction, or if it's a commercial building that is remodeling or new construction.
So the city would have told us that when we made an addition on the back of our house 5 years ago.
Because we've done this.
Well, yes, so if you're gonna do some work to your house, just go to the city, community development,
And they didn't
and,
tell us we had to do any of this, so I'm saying they would have told us. That would
that's
have been
correct, they would have, that's right, they would have told you.
You would not be surprised how many people just build on their homes without any city government.
That is correct.
All right, any other questions?
Can you give them an idea of what your territory covers?
Okay.
Who, are you asking me?
What are they?
Oh, you mean as far as the ARB? Well, we cover the entire city of Norcross, but we have certain things within the city of Norcross that we can control, and certain things that we have absolutely no say-so over. And it's all new construction, whether it be commercial or residential, and what it looks like. It's not zoning, has nothing to do with that. It's just the aesthetics of the exterior of the building. If you want to paint the interior of your walls purple or green, it's not our business. But if anything that has to do on the outside, new construction only, or exterior within the historic district that isn't defined, and you can find this online with our community development. It's on the zoning map, so you can see that if you are within that or not. So it's really just the exterior.
So am I wrong? The charter and the purview of the ARB are all on the website, right?
I think they are.
Yes?
I can't answer that for sure.
Okay.
We'll find out.
Okay. I think it is, but that would be a good thing to have.
It should be, and we'll find out.
I will say though that with the ARB, we have very specific guidelines that were developed by a consultant and went out and took photos of the historic district and all of these homes, and it kind of gives us guidelines of what we should be going for. If someone in the historic district, for instance, wants to put up a fence in their front yard, well, it's like, is that consistent? Is it appropriate within the historic district? There's some little details within this that we have to look at and decide, is it appropriate or not. We're not here for, to destroy anyone's property rights. It's here to protect in the historic district what we have and make sure that it's not going to be just destroyed by someone putting up a chain link fence in their front yard, that type of a thing.
And the guidelines are on the website. I looked at recently. It's on the
Okay.
other page.
Oh, you're on the website, okay, good.
And I'll just add that the vast majority of our applicants appreciate the advice. It rarely doesn't ever get adversarial.
Well, we try in the city to take an educational tone from everything we do, from police enforcement, which sometimes you cannot be educational when it comes to police enforcement, but to code enforcement, to everything, we try to be as educational as possible. Mr. Higgins?
If the ARB makes a ruling on something, who do you go to appeal it if you have a disagreement or not?
You would have to go to council. We had a guy paint a hotel.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. And he had already painted it. Well, he called the county and said, do I need to get a permit? And the county said no. But the county didn't say, but you're in Norcross, you have to go to Norcross. So he painted it, and he painted it improperly, based on, it was basically lime green.
Yeah, but it was a hardship for him, so he appealed, and he appealed and went before council, and I think council denied him.
Yes, the ultimate, Dwayne, if there's an appeal, I think the ultimate, and then we have a zoning board of appeals, which John Thompson is the chairperson as well. So there's appeal boards if you disagree with that, with some of the zoning through council, and zoning board of appeals gets the final say in that particular issue. I thought I saw any more questions? All right, let's go with Greg. He hasn't asked a question yet.
You said the DDA was a legal authority. Are they bound by the same sunshine laws as the city council in the city? Sunshine. Okay.
Yeah, all of our meetings, city council meetings are all open to the public, and we have to advertise if we're going to have more than 3 council members at an event. That's why some people have heard of this PDC meeting. Well, we now advertise that as a city council, as a city event, because there might be more than 2 or 3 council members there. And
one other thing too, Greg. We follow the same rule as the council regarding executive session, which can only be done for legal purposes, for personnel, and for real estate.
Yeah. And then the ARB and all of our board meetings are open. I would tell you if you were to go to an ARP meeting, they might be a little interested if they saw 5 or 6 people sitting in but they would be pleased that you were there. All right, so,
That was my question, was about how Open Records Act and Open Meetings Act applied to the DDA.
yes.
And it wasn't like that, just trying to get that out.
No, I see.
Understand.
And I would encourage you to go to these meetings. We had 250 people in this room for one meeting, and then the next meeting, when it was decided, we probably had about 20. So I would encourage as many people to come to all of our meetings as possible. John?
Yeah, and this is probably a good one to close on. You dropped a bombshell at the beginning of this, and you said that the DDA is no more. It's now the NDA? The Norcross Development Authority?
I didn't say that. We extended the boundaries of the DDA. It's still downtown. It's still the DDA, but it should eventually involve the Norcross Development Authority because it is now outside of just the boundaries of downtown.
So will we begin to call it the NDA or the Norcross Development Authority rather than the DDA?
Eventually, I think that'll take place, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so with respect to the Norcross Development Authority, I actually was a member for the 4 months that we made decisions, probably about 4 or 5 years ago. And then we wasted 6 months of meetings, and then they disbanded and they rolled everything into the DDA. So it's my understanding we're going back to the Norcross Development Authority?
So yeah, we created the original Norcross Development Authority. You have to have a development authority in order to do a tax allocation district. A development authority, we were looking at a tax allocation district, which looking back at it, I'm happy it didn't happen. But we were looking at a development, which is currently where Pinnacle Point Pond is, and where the new Pinnacle Pond is. So we created Norcross Development Authority at that point. Now we are going to where the Development Authority is the Norcross Development. I'll do a little more research specifically about that, to answer that question specifically. But yes, we have extended the boundaries of the Downtown Development Authority throughout the city. All right, I'll take one more question if anyone's got any more questions. Sean? Okay. I'm willing to stick around as long as possible. I appreciate it's been an hour. You want to?
Yeah, and one thing, this, as you know, this is the first meeting we've had like this, and we want to have a lot more that are educational type formats. Police department, building grounds like we talked about. So I want your feedback. I appreciate any feedback. If you thought the process we went through tonight can be improved on, questions we should ask, things you felt like I didn't do a good job with, I want to know that, because we want to do this same presentation in the next 3 to 5 weeks if possible. Some people at short notice did not attend, and we want to make sure we make it available to those. So I would appreciate that very much. My email's on the website, pi@att.net, very easy. I really appreciate that, and I thank everybody for coming.
Thank you. That's it. Appreciate everyone coming. We'll have some more. Stick around. I'll answer some questions for you. Thank you.
Me too.